Master, master, master of puppets pulling the string. Ah. Da-da-da, bum bum. Da-da-da, bum bum. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Liberty or death. What we so proudly hail. What you provoke her. Rattling of her tail. The Metallica Black Album. It was a pivotal time in Metallica's history, if you recall. Has the Don't Tread on Me snake on it? That was their transition from niche metal music to mainstream global explosion. They were big globally as metal rock singers prior to that album, right? And they had some great songs. They had multiple albums previously. But speed metal and thrash metal and hardcore and screaming and super volume, that was Metallica, right? For Whom the Bell Tolls and Master of Puppets and I Mean Ride the Lightning and all that jazz. They were young dudes with big ass facial hair, mustachy beards, long ass hair, skinny, sweaty, beer drinking, cigarette smoking, like against the machine, Antifas. They look like it. They sort of did, which was pretty cool. And then the Black Album came out in the late 80s, maybe the early 90s, don't remember. 87, 89, 90, 92. That freaking album came out and exploded with Enter Sandman. It had like 7 or 9 number one hits. Nothing different in that Hetfield still wrote all the lyrics. The band produced all of the music together. Lars would come in and record the drum lines on his own. I don't know if they had, what's his name, Bobby Rock? They started a collaboration with him and it changed the band. He was one of the best record producers in the industry. He'd had his own band, and some of them were notable. I can't even remember, but it was glam, big hair glam rock. And he looks awesome. He looks like, Bret Michaels or somebody. And then he went into producing, because that's where he liked it. He liked having the big mixing, the soundboard and all that shit. And that dude was awesome. He did not take less than. He did not take repetitive. He knew intimately the music. He knew intimately the musicians. He knew what they were able to do. He pushed them to limits. He did it with everyone. He did it with Metallica. If you haven't watched Some Kind of Monster or one of their documentaries on the neuroses in their brains, the addictions that Hetfield has, the narcissism that he has, that Lars has, Lars just loves the music, but he's very particular as an expert musician, as a world-class drummer. Great music, great sound, great time. But, decades with somebody, you could see the pissy brother, or whatever it was. Ooh. Sometimes it was nasty and shitty and, human. And then they got rid of, our little bass player, Jason. Booted him. And right now they got the Mexican dude from Pantera or whatever for the last 3 or 4 years or 5 or 7 years or whatever it is, 10 years. And he auditioned and they popped open the briefcase and offered him $1 million cash in the briefcase to join the band. With, whatever, rights to the music and this and that and tour with them. That was pretty cool to see. But the Black Album changed it all. And it was weird. Because you had millions of Metallica followers, and the album was a deviation from their normal, loud, thrashy, heavy metal music. It had some feel to that, but it had melodic tunes. It had slow beat tunes. It had acoustic tunes. Nothing else matters. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. So close, no matter how far. Couldn't be much more from the heart. And, oh, dude, it makes me emotional now. That fucking music is that. And Hetfield not only is a master writer, fuck. And you watching Some Kind of Monster, they collaborate on the writing, and that never happened. That was his gig. He wrote all the lyrics. From the brilliance, the genius, the madness, the psychosis, the addiction in his mind. Whew, very literary, dude. Great mind. Genius, you can see it. You can see Lars is a genius. Bass and guitar, you know, equally as good, but those two really epitomize Metallica. And Hetfield was a fiend guitar player as well. And he speaks about it in Some Kind of Monster, where they sent demo tapes out to get someone to produce their record, to give them like a, you know, limited run on some label. And he plays the guitar in it, and it is shred. He plays the lead, and they giggle about it. But you always see him, he's got an affinity. He goes up to Bob Rock's house, like in Seattle or wherever the fuck it is. No, I think it's up in Canada. I think Bob Rock's Canadian. Goes up to like Western Canada, I want to say, Vancouver or somewhere. And Rock's multi-millionaire because he's produced major records for major musicians. And he walks in, and Hetfield walks around, and there's just, it's a music room. The guy's a fiend. The equipment, instruments, everything. And he's just got dozens, hundreds of guitars that Hetfield looks through. Hetfield's got hundreds of guitars. He collects guitars. And it's so cool to see a child in a candy store. And that's his gig, man. That's his niche. That's his groove. So cool to see a biopic, to see an analysis of what those people are, regardless of what they really, you know, what we perceive them are as, or what they are, but what they really are. Genius musicians, they are special. It's not luck that there may be snippets or facets of luck. Those people are extraordinary. Those guys are extraordinary musicians, just like the Beatles, just like the Rolling Stones, just like Aerosmith, just like The Who, just like, you know, somebody, just like Bruno Mars, just like, you know, Christina Aguilera, Alicia Keys, Jay-Z, you know, in a weird way Snoop Dogg, fucking smoked up, you know, inner city dude. He's learned from those around him, man. That dude's a mogul now in business, just like Russell Simmons, just like, you know, P. Diddy, Diddy, Puffy Combs. But awesome to see those guys. And that album changed everything. And that whole subset of heavy metal heads, oh, they were angry. I had friends and people that, you know, music was music in your youth. And they're, fuck Metallica, fucking sellouts. I was like, have you listened to the album, dude? It's pretty epic. Like 9 of the songs are sick. Don't Tread on Me. What? You know what I mean? And they didn't agree. They thought it was selling out. They didn't like the slowdown in the music. They didn't like the melodies. Dude, I thought it was the evolution of that band. They changed, and they made smart moves, and they spent their money wisely, and they hired smart people around them, and they worked hard, and they played hard. And yeah, it's pretty epic. And those guys have been prolific. God, smashing out the music. They played with the San Francisco Philharmonic Symphony? That was epic. No Leaf Clover? When it comes to be, that's a soothing light at the end of your tunnel. It's just a freight train coming your way. Dude, Hatfield stands in front of the audience. He's like, oh, I got a new one for you. Whoo! And they belt that out. You're like, what? and then you got all the instruments behind you. Holy cow. Epic, again, epic. And I don't know, probably not new or whatever, but just exemplary, just unique, incredible musicians. And that's they are. And they're old now, and they still produce. And that's awesome to see. So, yeah, today was Metallica Day. Because, you know, I sort of like Metallica a little bit. Lots going on. China ups cash rewards for citizens who report porn. So I think you could be awarded somewhere like whatever the yuan is, 300, 600,000 yuan turns into 83,000 bucks. So in typical communist nature, if you report on your communist brother performing unwanted, unsavory, unpatriotic, uncommunist-like behaviors, we will pay you. Dude, good we don't have that in our world. Good it's only like, you know, I'll report you to the Inquirer, or I'll call the IRS on you. Whew. And hell, you know, we read about that outside of the nation. Who the hell knows what the people think or believe or whatnot. But that's so grotesque. You know, neighborhood watch on steroids for porn. And I'm sure there's, maybe not. You'd think with 1 billion people, there's a ton of Chinese watching porn. I don't know. I don't even know if there's China. I don't know. There's China porn on the internet. There's India porn on the internet. I know there's Japanese porn all over the internet. The Japanese have a very mature subculture for sexuality. We all know that. You know, hensha and the anime aspect of it, and submissiveness with females, and male dominance, and the samurai warriors, and the warrior way, and all that stuff. A lot of people don't agree with it, but if it's your thing, it's your thing, and if it's not your thing, it's not your thing, right? And I'm sure there's flavors of how it developed, and the righteousness of it, and the culture and the beauty of it, and then the ugly side, like any other freaking human society, any other human, you know, nation, tribe, belonging, through any period. But yeah, weird. Chinese porn. Report on your fucking neighbor, we'll pay you. Right? And now I think for, not the snowman, for Assange, we're bringing charges against old Julian. Where is he, down in Ecuador? Been haunting over there, and they were going to throw him out, but they didn't throw him out. All of his WikiLeaks papers, and then he hung out with Pam Anderson in the embassy for a moment there. Julian, he's brilliant. What? She was like dressed in, you know, I don't know, some kind of couture, beautiful outfit, business outfit, or, you know, the shit that Melania wears, you know, $5,000 outfits. Saw her walking into some schwank hotel, you know, to go see Julian Assange. They did some kind of picture, some kind of, I think it was both a magazine interview and a pictorial coverage. You know, good housekeeping. GQ, whatever. Weird. What the weirdness of the world. What the fuck does Pam Anderson and going from her porn clips with like Bret Michaels or what's his name, Tommy Lee, over to some fucking interview in, you know, the Mirror in London or whatever, probably a tasteful publication, New York Times, whatever, with Julian Assange. I don't know. We reinvent ourselves all the time, and that's cool. She seems to be some kind of a phoenix or survivor. Just rise from the ashes and reinvent. Come back stronger. See your future. Come back new. Still you set, man. So that was cool. Funny to see. But yeah, it's a reminder. It's a reminder of how lucky we are. God damn. You know, you got the Red Army coming down on you because you're watching some skin streaming. Whew. Better be careful. I have to fly over to Hong Kong for a day trip. Do some gambling, cash out your Bitcoin or whatever you got, watch a little porn, and then fly back home. Ah, what a vacation. Filled with fun. Damn. And I think that's what they're doing. They're doing all their illegal currency right there. You know, they do their questionable activities that surely the Brotherhood of Communists, while they perform and do it all the time behind their red doors, like a little missile man, right? With Dennis, with the worm. The people sure can't do that. Damn it. That's not the Politburo way. Damn it. All for one for all. So, yeah, strange story. Billy Idol took the oath. He's American. Became a citizen. They captured it out there in the LA County Court, which I thought was awesome. Swearing in. Dude, that's fucking awesome. That's awesome fucking news. English to American. And he's old and crusty. Remember that fucking spiky hair? In the midnight hour. Sweaty, not real fit, sort of fit. Had like that, you know, giant spiky wristband with his hair. Fuck, guys. God bless the USA. That's good news right there. Everybody wants to come here. The migrants are climbing over the fences down there. It's getting a little dicey. I don't know if the media's covering it. I don't know why, or if they are or not. Billy got in legally. He did it. Long time. So that's cool as shit to see. Just like I saw, you know, or what I was in Here Comes the Boom, where you had Boss Ruden, right? The great MMA fighter. Boss Ruden with his big bald head, giant quads, doing the hike split kick. Like, ah, you know? And he got sworn into the USA. Took his little test. Had to know his civics. Had to know his government processes and structures. That's just cool shit, man. So, in some way, shape, or form, we're still whatever we were, and we still are whatever we are, and the protocol's there, and it's cool to see people pass the test and show pride and want to be here. Doing it the right way. Not entitled. Not that I deserve it. And there's not that that's not an argument. That every one of our people that got in here through Ellis Island or wherever and sacrificed their souls and sacrificed their lives and left family and children and left skills and safety and religion and loved ones and country behind. Come here, dude. Nads on those people. Balls. Walking up from Ecuador or whatever, or from, not Ecuador, whatever. Are there shithole countries down there? Colombia? Or Belize? Or some of those countries are in peril. I mean, it's tough. They still got that, you know, government and army component that, you know, they just suppress the people. Even though El Chapo, he's on trial. Fuck. Oh, the Sinaloa cartel. Killing it, he was killing it. And then Sean Penn fucked him up, turned him in. Damn Sean Penn. Love Sean Penn. Remember Walter Mitty? Sean Penn. God dang. So, Billy Idol is now a United States citizen. You see him, shake his hand and say, welcome. Welcome, Billy Idol. Thank you for your years of outstanding musical expertise, for entertaining us all the way and joining the club. And on the other side of that, maybe not. I don't, you know, to be controversial. The machine makes you something. It takes whatever these components, these variables of what you grew up as, from environmental, biological, and behavioral, all that shit. You make some choices like going to Hollywood or going to Wall Street or going to Washington, D.C. or going to your local Haagen-Dazs or Taco Bell, whatever you do, your local community college, however the hell it works out, and then you become something. And Jim Carrey, from the onset of when he showed up in Hollywood, you could tell he was a genius. He had a Robin Williams style intellect. Fast and quick-witted and accurate and sharp and rounded. I mean, just a knowledgeable humor at a different speed. And we know Robin, snort a bag of Coke or do a bunch of pills or whatever. And he had, something of a psychosis to where later in life, sure, whatever he had, Parkinson's or whatever that damn illness that he was developing, took his own life, right? But Carey's brilliant, and we've seen that in a lot of his representations where he does his ad-libbing and he does his monologuing in comedy. And his facial expressions and features, his ability to imitate, his ability to manipulate his body. Remember when he was on the Wayans Brothers show? Dude, let me show you something. And he's Canadian, from the Great White North. And he explained how his father, and I've seen a number of instances on what formulated him, how he became what he was, the love and comedy in his family, a lot of pieces, and some of the strife. But you could tell early on, ooh, that guy's smart, right? Just in the way he portrayed his comedy. And that's why he turned into a $20 million movie megastar. And the machine, just like everybody else, he sort of disappeared, later on he knew how good he had it. Maybe he didn't do as much, maybe he was more selective in whatever he did. The machine chewed him up. And he sort of disappeared. And then the whole fiasco with that Irish makeup artist whom he met and he dated, and just the nightmare of her suicide and the notes, and then the interaction, the lawsuits from the family. She OD'd on pills that I think belonged to him. Sort of like Heath Ledger with the little twins from the TV show. He used their pills, right? The Olsen sisters, one of them. What a nightmare, right? And all this shit comes out. They release the court records, whatever they can, because you can either, for some reason or another, state that for damages, or that you're going to have closed documents, or you're not going to release any, or whatever. You're in the public court, so we get to see him, and that's just a mess. What the machine did and what it did to him, and I mean allegations of sexually transmitted diseases, and then allegations of slander and libel and lying, and ultimately none of it matters. She seemed, I never saw anything other than a picture. She seemed like a relatively quiet, pleasant Irish woman that was in a bad industry, and it sort of screwed her, and it took a chunk out of Carey. And I'm sure that dude, if you look at the women that he's accompanied throughout his career, he's got a long list of rock stars. And he was pretty smart about it. I think he had good relationships, and then when those relationships, grew apart, or grew stale, or grew controversial, whatever, he managed them. And it seems like on this one, he sort of didn't. And it was exposed in the public. And so he even shrunk down a little further from the machine, right? And now this hashtag movement. And I saw recent articles here where Weinstein wouldn't be prosecuted. They might have to drop all this shit around this. Oh, fuck. What crazy Hollywood lawyers. And they're there. Johnny Cochran. If somebody can get you off of a claim of murder, I guess anybody can get you off of anything. If you got enough money and you got enough juice and you got enough tenacity, and you can lie to yourself enough, I didn't do it. Oh, God. But that's disgusting, right? And now I think I just saw Dartmouth. They're suing 2 teachers over a bunch of, sexual harassment and supposed rape and all kinds of shit. And it's a group of gals coming out. This ain't gonna stop. Why would it stop? Shit's been going on in some way, shape, or form in the shadows, the underbelly, quiet like for a long, long time, with men and boys, men and girls, men and women. Nowadays, with the rise of the female, women and boys, a lot of these teachers nowadays are young teachers, and they prey on their high school students. And usually it's a good-looking kid, a good-looking dude. Weird. But mostly men. And there's, I don't know if you'll change it, the animal structure that we are. But it's coming out. So, I guess it's good. And Jim Carrey got caught up in that, just like everybody else. Sorta-ish. Maybe. And he's clearly intelligent. And he's something of an artist. If you haven't investigated it. He does these they look like caricatures or cartoons. From, the golden day, the old day, the comics in the paper, whatever you want. You go to the fair. And it's about that quality. Which isn't bad. Isn't great. It's creative. Above average. He's probably above average artist. Clearly he's gotten better. Some of his earlier works, not so much. But, man, are they charged. And just because of who he is, he's got a voice. Millions of people see that shit. And he bangs on Trump, and he bangs on, he just sent Zuckerberg. So I guess back in January or February, with all the Russia shit, the pseudo fake news and election fixing that the Russians supposedly did through Facebook, in Facebook with, hacked accounts, fictitious accounts or whatever. Carey made an announcement I'm selling all my Facebook. Fucking Zucker. He calls him Zuckerborg. The Borg from, Star Trek The Next Generation with Picard. Jean-Luc Picard. You are Borg. We must assimilate you. Dude, and only nerds know that shit. I grew up watching Star Trek. James T. Kirk was he had some swagger. He was something to something. I mean, he was hooking up with the Hura. He was kissing the green bitch. I had the dude bit. He was the real deal. Had the cool hair. Dun 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 dun. He spoke in jerky motions. What? Spock, how come the aliens are coming? I mean, the brunt of all the comedic jokes or whatever for decades. Got the little pot belly in like season 2, 3, right? Had to put the fucking corset on because he was a fat fuck. And if you've ever read the details of the stories, I'm a nerd. He had 2 big Dobermans in his room. He had the biggest room on set. You couldn't go into his room. The Dobermans would rip your leg off. They'd attack and kill on command. Shatner was a dick. Sort of a dick. And then, his underground Star Trek really grew and had some traction. And later in life, he went and did other things. And man, his last 15, 20 years with Boston Public or whatever, I don't watch TV, so whatever the hell TV shows, he's done quite well. As well as Comic-Con and all the old Star Trek and all that jazz. But, and now I don't even remember my train of thought because I'm old. But, back to Jim Carrey. Well, no, Jean-Luc Picard and the Borg. Dude, The Next Generation was horrible. It was pretty horrible. They had Wesley, they had Dr. Crusher, and then her son. They had, some of them, Worf, the big Klingon dude, he was sort of cool. They had an empath. I could feel your emotions. Oh. And they had number 1, Riker. He's the second in command. He was sort of fat, had a big beard. It wasn't that good. Later in the seasons, they got better. You saw the funding increase to the production. The makeup got better. The stories got a little better. The special effects got a little better. They brought Jerry What's-Her-Nut in. Some, smoking hot blonde with great big boobs, and she was a Borg. But this Borg was this. They were this species that were cyborg. They were part machine, part human, and they'd assimilate. Any living thing, any life form, pulled into the Borg, you were assimilated. You were pulled into it. Every characteristic, every piece of knowledge, every trait, anything that defined your society, your life form, they owned, took over. And that's how they became this giant powerhouse around the universe, like taking over everything. Well, they snatched Picard and he became a board leader. Fuck me. And so Jim Carrey makes some snooty comment about Zuckerberg and calls him Zuckerborg. Zuckerborg. Because Facebook's taking over the world. You will be assimilated. Oh, so stupid. Makes, a little bit of comedy, but maybe a 4chan reference. You know what I mean? A little too far off the cuff there, Jim. And he draws these caricatures about it, and he said back in January, February, I'm selling on my Facebook stock. I'm getting out, Zuckerberg, and controlling the elections and all this shit. Well, he's banging on him again about whatever the recent Facebook issues are, and again he references Zuckerberg, and instead of whatever snappy remark or whatever, he draws another little caricature, draws the thumb down on Facebook next to Zuckerberg and whatever funny name he made up for Facebook. He writes in binary, zeros and ones, F-U-C-K-Y-O-U. So clearly the dude's a heady fellow with just a lot of time to do whatever the fuck he wants. And he's some kind of political cartoonist that's shouting at the world lately. And I don't know, I don't think it's crap, but it's entertaining, but give me a fucking break, dude. Go away. Maybe not. Maybe keep slinging out the entertainment. Keep rocking the boat. You Canadian? I don't know if he's a citizen. If he swore the oath, I don't think he did. Maybe he did. Hell, when you're Canadian, you're American anyway. We should have fucking taken over. Like, what was it? South Park. Blame Canada. Take over Mexico, take over Canada. They're both pains in the ass. They're sort of stupid. They sort of run their shit, but they don't. There's like 8 people on each side. One of them, hey man, let's go some drugs. Let's go sell the drugs. And on the Canadian side, oh, how are you doing? Hey, fucking do my ass. Oh, hey, let's go make movies in Vancouver. Let's go skiing and play some ice hockey. Yeah. And they're both awesome. But I've always thought, the NAFTA agreement, remember, with Ross Perot? It's gonna be a sucking noise. And it's sucking right there. Sucking right across the border. Leaves all of our jobs and our money. NAFTA. And then Saturday Night Live, come on, piggy boy. And he writes. That guy is a study. If you ever read Ross Perot, whew, a little fire plug, man. Oh, teeny Texas pistol, boy. Boom, take over. I'll kill you. Yeah, I don't know. I think we could fix Mexico. Maybe not. Maybe it'd be a giant drain. It'd be one of those, historical mistakes in the United States of America's history when we tried to annex Mexico. Canada'd be easy. I think we can roll right in there, with Trudeau. Did you see when Trudeau traveled around, I guess India or somewhere, and he got off the plane and he wanted to be really impressionable? Wanted all the Indians to come to his country, which they do now if you can't get, passport, visa, whatever for the U.S. And work visa, whatever it is, N1B, whatever you're doing. They showed up in like traditional dress, and they went over here into tradition. They were always smiling. He and his little model wife, model man, model wife, model kids, creepy, man. Like Stepford Wives, like cyborgs. Like, yeah, those people aren't real. Those are political robots. But Carey's fighting out some, controversial stuff in a really smarty-duty manner because he's bored, which is funny. Smart people, see the way their brains work. So that's going on with a lot of the, minor world news topics intermingled. Roy Clark from Hee Haw, legendary country musician, has died. And if you don't know who Roy Clark is, boy, just hit the YouTube and watch that dude. With Buck Henry and I guess some of the other folks during that heyday in the late 60s, early 70s, late 70s, 80s. I think Hee Haw went on to 90s. 93 was the last episode. But as a child in the 70s, we watched Hee Haw. And he had the Hee Haw Honeys. He had a group of great looking women. He had a zany crew of entertainers and artists, and they'd do skits, they'd play music, they'd do humor, they'd had guests. Hee Haw was the shiz. You had Laugh-In and Hee Haw. Rowan Martin's Laugh-In and Hee Haw. And Roy Clark was Hee Haw. And man, could that dude play the banjo, the mandolin, the guitar, harmonica. He could play anything. He could play like 12 musical instruments. And he was extremely good at guitar and banjo, at picking. He did, on the 12-string guitar, he played whatever, Magaluna or whatever it was. It's a very famous flamenco tune that you'd recognize if you heard it. Right? The stuff that you epitomizes flamenco music. And he did it quite accomplished, and he became pretty famous for a number of those songs. He also had some hits that he banged out there that were his, that he was known for. But that was toward the end of his career, Hee Haw. And he stated that it really put his face to his name. People knew who Roy Clark was as an entertainer and a performer, and his music. They didn't know what he looked like, and he wasn't a good-looking man. He's just a big Southern dude, but with a great big grin, and always seemed to be smiling and having fun. Doing skits, dueling banjos, or always had some instrument in his hand, the guitar or the banjo or something, with the skit on stage, with a lot of humor, a lot of fun, cool guests. That was a great show. And that dude was a performer, which everybody said. He epitomized entertainment and music. That was his life, his world, and he did it well. Much like Metallica. And he died. He died at 85 or 83 or something in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Had pneumonia, and he'd been ill these last few years. He was a big man, so he lost the ability to walk, had to get a cane. And it had some issues, but yeah, he was awesome. And me, growing up, if you said Roy Clark, man, I was like, that dude can play. Whew. Like that Deliverance shit. And Buck Henry, I think, was the guy. He was a co-host for many years, and he played the banjo like a fiend. Dude, so they had dueling banjos, and they'd play off each other, and whew, just good music. But we've lost another great one. Yep. And I'll tell you what, we lose great ones every day. Fortunately, though, some of them are more visible than others, and Roy Clark was one of those, and we all got to experience that. They weren't just an awesome person in the community on a corner that had a store or drove a cab or, were in a police car or sat in a classroom. Every day, man, and if you don't, you don't stop and think about that, every day there's people around you that, God bless, you should be thankful for. And I think some of these events nowadays, a school shooting or a bar shooting or a bombing or a natural disaster, they make you realize. I saw a picture of Pierce Brosnan getting out of his Jeep or whatever. You know, these people, exorbitant wealth, great popularity, lots of power and networking, and the guy, they got some asshole took a, you know, these assholes. They don't have a semblance, a sliver, a piece of privacy. Getting out of his truck, and you could see he's visibly disturbed. Because this big fucking house with all of his belongings and all the memories he's had and, you know, everything that he was and is fucking burned down. Oh, but the millionaires would buy another one. Dude, they're people too. With a fucking lifetime. And if you can't show empathy and have some sympathy for these people, yeah, stop watching your phone. Get off the news. Do some self-reflection. Spend a moment and meditate. And when I get my prayer bowl, I'll meditate with you. We'll do a little session on here. We'll do some little, you know, breathing and chanting. God, we'll find our chakra. Stop being a dick all the time. And that's bad. I think it's in the 60s now for people that have lost their lives. There's 600 people still unaccounted for. One of the fires seems like it started at a large station or a junction for, you know, Pacific Power and Light. Pacific, it wasn't Pacific Gas, whatever it is out there. The utility. And I think someone had reported that one of the big lines was sparking or shocking, and God! And you had the Camp Fire and the Paradise Fire, and all these fires were just neighborhoods have been devastated. People have been singed. You know, 60-plus-year-olds, they didn't have time to escape. And now there's a lot of questions about the quality of these homes and the way they built these communities, and why are they, if this is a possibility or a probability in the Hollywood Hills, in the California Hills, who the fuck allowed the zoning and the building? How do you not have fire retardant systems? How do you not have fire breaks? 100-foot fire breaks. Everything burns around it and nothing jumps. You gotta have a fucking ember blowing 100 feet, high wind to land on something, sit there, smolder, and start that structure on fire. Or you're stuck in the worst fires in California history. Shit balls up north, down south. Man. Tragedy. I don't know, maybe that's needed. A minor biblical scale tragedy to bring some of these people together. And truthfully, it seems like a lot of these people are coming together. I don't know what way, who knows, the media's reporting on it. Pierce Brosnan walking out of a car, seemingly, clearly, and, you know, visibly upset. And then, apparently he went over to the local whatever and made some pleas. Hey, everybody, help. We have the ways, we have the means. We've lost our material good, but our lives are still here. Our livelihoods, our health, our welfare. The firefighters, the police officers, the emergency responders, the volunteers. Let's thank them all. Let's help them all. Let's work with them. Power, man, cool. And that shows the good side of what the evils that reported out there. The Harvey Weinstein evil. So, bad to see that. Bad to see Roy Clark left the planet. I remember reading, it was, I guess, the New York Times, one of the largest publications at the time. When in 1953, 58, 59, I don't remember, I don't recall, Albert Einstein died in Princeton, New Jersey. And it was a comic, a caricature, whatever, of the globe. And it had printed on it, you know, in those old 50s style, where they had the planet, the moon, or whatever. Then written across it, Albert Einstein lived here. And in some way, shape, or form, that's what Roy Clark was for me, man. You said country music, dude. You didn't mention Roy Clark. What? Roy Clark lived here. God, it was epic. And he brought it. He brought it to the people. He brought it to the masses. Showed love and happiness. And the stories all reflect that. never angry on set, never mean to people, always generous, always giving, always thankful. Wanted to share and play. Wanted to play music. They'd fuck up the takes, man, because, like, it was the 70s. You had drinking and drugging and crazy personalities like Goldie Hawn, remember, on Laughing? And they'd have to reshoot it, and he'd laugh, and they'd have fun, and on occasion they'd show the outtakes. And that's when you go, dude, I'm blessed. I'm in something that's epic. And most of us in our lives don't find that in your job or whatever. So that was cool. It was cool that we got to enjoy him, and he shared his life and his music and his passion with us. And he's gone. The fights are this weekend. I'm not going to go over them again. It's Magny and Ponzinibbio, Lamas, Ricardo Lamas, Darren Elkins. It's a decent card. It's free. How can you bitch and piss and moan about free? Free beer. That's the best beer, man. Free beer. Free fights are the best fights. And I bet some of these cats are going to come out swinging. You got Roundtree Jr. Khalil Roundtree Jr. is a mauler. He goes up and down, but he's fighting Johnny Walker. I don't know who Johnny Walker is, other than that junk up on the shelf, man. Give me a shot of Johnny Walker. And that always brings the pain. So that's probably going to be a good fight. You got Cesar Ferreira. Dude, you know the Brazilians with the R's that are H's, you know, and the rolling, the no rolling. Cesar's a fiend. He's fighting Ian Henisch. I don't know who Ian Henisch is. Looks like a good German or something like that, but Cesar is a bulky, looks like he shot up on a lot of drugs, mauler. So I think there's going to be great fights. I'll jump in. I don't know where they're fighting, so I don't know what time they fight at, right? If it's over in Europe, or if it's here in the U.S., or if it's down in South America, or if it's, over in Asia. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's over in Asia. There's usually regional fighters, and these guys all look Brazilian, so I'm sort of thinking maybe it's in Brazil. But, which means it might be early. It might go off at like 2, 3, 4 o'clock on a Saturday. So, might have to watch it a little early, but they look like they're good fights. And then, in a strange way, I wanted to close out with a weird story and give you a couple questions on the end. Did you read the story about the mom who breastfed her 9-year-old right up until recently? And she stated she wanted to raise public awareness for breastfeeding. And it's her 9-year-old daughter sitting on her lap, 9-year-old. And we've seen stories like this of, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds. Children, clear children, no longer infants, that have mobility, maybe even have speech, and they're breastfeeding. And this lady came out and shared this story, and I've seen it. I've seen it on the intraweb now for a few days. And I didn't want to get into it because it's sort of creepy and sort of gross and sort of grotesque and strange. And it's one of those outliers for, to create response, sort of clickbaity maybe, I think, or some kind of fantastic media. But there's people like this, and you got to understand that. Once in a while, where they show all the folks at Walmart and they sling those photos up as the Walmart people shockers, and you enjoy it. This lady was breastfeeding her 9-year-old daughter. And on the one hand, clearly that doesn't seem normal. It's a 9-year-old. There's no need to have milk from a mother at that age. Everything's developed. All their systems are functioning. The foods and the nourishment that they can receive can fully augment that. And that's the scientific part of it. Clearly there's some kind of bond and relationship that these two have formed. It goes far beyond nourishment. I didn't read the story that much in depth, and I didn't want to get into it that much in depth, but it's a topic, and it's not front and center important, but it's out there, and it's strange, and we encounter these things, and You know, most often we just disregard them. Dude, I got other shit to do. Some crazy lady who's feeding her kid, you know, walking around, got like a little man. You know, pictures and shit, like holding a person walking around while they're breastfeeding, you know, and all the humor and the jokes that go with it. And I don't know, I pose that question, is that acceptable? Is it disturbing? It's clearly not normal. It's not almost unique. There's not many, if any, 9-year-olds that are breastfed. But, you know, in general, what's your initial reaction? And then what do you think about it? And then, you know, and I have a take on it, what the norm or the society would view it as. But this article's out here, you can check it out and read it and see if it, you know, falls in line with your opinions or whatnot. And that's where we're at. That's all I got. Godspeed. Good luck. Thanks for watching. Leave comments. Subscribe. Share with your friends. Share with your dog, with your cat. Pull your snippets out. Share with me. Out.